Yo, 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 what is up, everybody? It is your boy out here, CJ the DJ, coming to you live with a brand new episode of Hustle and Burn. As always, man, appreciate y'all tuning in. It is Sunday. Hopefully, everybody had a great week, and hopefully, we can end it off right. You dig? Appreciate y'all tuning in, man. Of course, guys, shout out to our sponsors, first and foremost, Diamond Consulting. For any general contractors out there in the Front Range, Colorado area that may need or utilize subcontractors in any different scope of work, guys, whether it's new builds, remodels, renovations, contact Diamond Consulting. What they have and provide is a fully pre-vetted, insured network of subcontractors looking to grow and scale their companies, aka take on more work. Let's contact Diamond Consulting, guys. 720-563-7452. Top of the morning to everybody, man. Appreciate everybody who's continuing to tune in. Shout out to everybody new that's tuning in, man. Y'all just in time. Perfect timing for a great episode, man. Let's get into the Not For Long League. Of course, we had the draft this weekend, man. No Sheduer Sanders in the first 4.5 rounds is absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous. Jackson Dart over Sheduer Sanders, bro. Be real. Be real. Be fucking for real, right? Like, be for real. Come on now, man. The hate was very clear on night 1 and 2 of the NFL draft for not only Sheduer, but in my opinion, the entire Sanders family, right? And we'll get into that, man. But at this point, he was drafted, of course, by the Cleveland Browns. And you know, by the time he got drafted, guys, at the point and at the end point where he was, analysts were stunned, veterans in the league were stunned, and I think it boils down to a few things. So I'm going to come on here like I always do and give you guys my honest review in regard to the Sheduer Sanders situation. And I think first and foremost that this is clearly a message, a multifaceted message by the NFL, period. You, number one, are not bigger than the program. Sheduer Sanders, Deion Sanders, especially Deion, you are not bigger than the program. That is the bottom line. And, you know, I think that overconfidence is viewed as arrogance. Even if you can come into the league and you can back it up with the hard work and this and that. All these NIL deals, all this richness, all this money you got, we don't care. We don't want to have that overconfidence and that arrogance at the end of the day. That's, and I'm giving you the perspective of an owner, of a general manager, of a head coach, right? Like, they do not want to have that overconfidence and you thinking that you are bigger than the program. And if there's one player in college football that most likely thought he was bigger than the program, who was it, guys? Sheduer Sanders. If there's one head coach in the NCAA that thinks he is bigger than the program, Deion Sanders. I'm a Buff fan. Y'all know die hard. That's the reality, okay? And I love them both to death. I love what they've done for the university. But a lot of times it has come off, even if they don't feel that way, this is how it's being portrayed, at least, is very arrogant, very over cocky, very, you know, we gonna do this no matter what you say. You're not bigger than the program. And the NFL is always going to remind you that you are not bigger than the program, right? And even if you have millions, even if you're still willing to go work hard, like Sheduer Sanders, I do want to say this point blank. Sheduer Sanders is known as one of the hardest working players in NCAA football, okay? I think that's being overshadowed a little bit, is the actual work that Sheduer Sanders does put in as an individual and as a player on his game. He loves the game of football, and he has put in the work to be a top-tier, high-quality quarterback in the NCAA. Make no mistake about that, okay? It's just, again, the cockiness comes off as arrogance to a lot of these people. The same thing happened to Aaron Rodgers back in the day. That's why Aaron Rodgers slipped down draft boards. Not as far as Sheduer, obviously, but that's why Aaron Rodgers slipped, was after interviews and things like that, owners, GMs, head coaches felt that they were arrogant and that it wouldn't really mix well or mold well with what they were trying to develop in their organization. So, you know, that's number one. And an NFL analyst said this on his panel, and I think it's very, very true for number two, is the media presence, the media hype, and the media pressure, realistically, guys. Some GMs and head coaches, at the end of the day, want to avoid that, especially if you're thinking of bringing Sheduer in as a backup quarterback. There's not many head coaches that want the backup quarterback having more hype and talk and coverage than the starters. And there's potential for that to still happen even with Sheduer Sanders. That's how large this bubble is surrounding the Sanders family, right? But NFL owners, coaches, head coaches, GMs, they don't want the buzz to be around the backup quarterback versus their starting quarterback. This is exactly what I mentioned, guys, last week on the pod was rumored with the Patriots. When they sent that quarterback, their backup quarterback, down to the team down in Tejas that we do not name this year on the podcast, okay? You know that team. Y'all know that team. Broke my heart, man. Broke my heart. Damn. You know, but that's rumored why Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniels sent him down to the team down in Tejas that we do not name, is because they felt like, from the fan base perspective, from the media perspective, their backup played so good last year that if it came into this season and Drake May had a lackluster first 3 to 5 weeks, that the chirps were going to begin from the fans. Put him in. Drake May's bad. Put him in. Imagine for Sheduer Sanders, right? Like, imagine, realistically, you're going to have his dad tweeting shit like that. You know what I mean? So that's just the reality, guys, is you don't want to have, you know, your backup quarterback having more media coverage, having more media hype, having more push at the end of the day than your starting quarterback, because then it's just going to put more pressure on your starting quarterback. It's going to put more pressure on your organization at the end of the day to put him in a position, number one, he may not be ready for, right? Like, let's put that out there. But number two, put your organization in a position where you're forced to make a decision simply because of, again, the media hype and the media presence surrounding him. And even with him being drafted in such a low spot, even with him going to the Cleveland Browns, there's still that potential, realistically, for that exact thing to happen. So it'll be very interesting. But to me, this, in my opinion, shows how truly legendary Sheduer Sanders is. And I think that's the bottom line here, guys, that a lot of people are taking out of perspective. This shows how legendary Sheduer is. Love him or hate him, he is so large, so legendary, whatever you want to call it. He had to be pushed down on draft boards purposefully. Guys, this was purposeful, okay? Don't make no mistake about it. There's no conspiracy theory behind that. Him being pushed down these draft boards was absolutely purposeful by a lot of teams. I won't say all teams. Some of my brother Armando pointed out, like, you know, you can't say all 32 teams made a mistake. At the end of the day, all 32 teams aren't quarterback hungry teams. But any team that was looking for a quarterback, any team that even needed a backup quarterback, realistically, or had uncertainty at the quarterback position potentially, those guys, right, they made a mistake, or potentially made a mistake, but they purposefully pushed him down those draft boards to try and ease the hype, to try and send the message, right? Like, there was a clear message behind this, right, at the end of the day. And that's why it shows how truly legendary Sheduer Sanders is. He can now go to the Browns organization and have no pressure to perform, right? Like, there's no pressure on Sheduer. He was picked like 155. He has 3 quarterbacks ahead of him on the depth chart. Now he goes to the NFL. If it doesn't pan out, great. You were picked 155, my boy, 4th rounder. 4th, 5th, 6th round quarterbacks don't pan out all the time. We've seen it go on every single season, every single year. So if it doesn't pan out at the draft position, at least, right, at the draft position that he was in, then great. Didn't pan out. You're picked 155. We're not tripping on it, right? Like, but on the flip side of that, he goes to the NFL. He's drafted in the 4th round or later, goes to a team, ends up winning, ends up being relevant, ends up potentially being a star. Great. Even better for the team. Even better for Sheduer Sanders. Even better for the story, man. Right? Like, even better for the legendary status, dog, if that's what happens. This team now got a steal at 155. He shuts the haters up once again, because on every destination and stop of his career and journey thus far, he has shut the haters up in terms of his actual play. The kid's stats are high quality. He did not have an offensive line at CU. He was the most sacked quarterback in the NCAA, bro. When he was not under pressure, shout out to Field Yates for the information. When he was not under pressure, 80% of his passes were completed. Meaning if he has a clean pocket, aka the best system around him, and he has a clean pocket, 8 out of 10 times he's getting you and your receivers the ball. Period. That's high quality play, guys. No matter what way you want to spin it, right? So again, it's one side. You don't pan out, you were pick 155. Great. Let's say on the flip side of that, he does pan out. He does beat out these guys to become the starter. He does beat out these guys to become the starter in week 6, 7, 8. Takes the team to the playoffs. Takes the team on the cusp of a playoff. Takes the team to more wins than they got the previous season. Now it's an even bigger story surrounding Sheduer Sanders, and it shows just how legendary he truly is, man. So I think this is really a win-win for Sheduer Sanders, even if right now I'm sure for him it doesn't feel like it, right? Like, this was the one team publicly they said he really didn't want to play for and probably wasn't going to go down to Cleveland, right? Like, Deion said that point blank. And that's why, again, I think the messaging isn't only to Sheduer Sanders, it's to Daddy Sanders as well. You are not bigger than the program. That is the bottom line. You are not bigger than the program, Deion. You are not bigger than the program, Sheduer. And the NFL sent a clear message to them. I think the NFL sent a clear message just overall in terms of the cockiness, the arrogance, the trying to dictate and determine where you will go and where you weren't going. This is not going to end up like Eli Manning, bro, where you get drafted, you force your way out on draft night, and it becomes the greatest thing that ever happened to both of these organizations, right? Like, that's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. That's not going to happen anymore, and you're not going to force our hand in bringing you into our league, bro. Like, that's the bottom line. So get rid of that arrogance. We're going to feed you a slice of humble pie. Here you go. Thank you, buddy. Right? Like, that's really how NFL owners, GMs, and everyone did to Sheduer Sanders. You see it a little bit with Caleb Williams, right? Like, Caleb Williams came into the NFL this year and was extremely humbled, fam. All that running around in the backfield bullshit you're doing, Caleb Williams, it ain't going to work in the league. You're playing against grown-ass men, my boy. All that painting your nails, you don't see Caleb Williams painting his nails no more. No, you with grown-ass men in this locker room, brother. We don't want to hear about that. We don't give a fuck why you do it. I don't want to see it. Get rid of it. That's how these guys are in these NFL locker rooms, and that's exactly what is going to happen to Sheduer Sanders, realistically. He got fed a slice of humble pie. There's no way he's going to go down to Browns minicamp and training camp, and these guys are just going to let him be, rah, rah, legendary, perfect time. No, bro. Shut that shit down. Get to work. And that's what's going to make them respect him more. And in my opinion, bro, Sheduer Sanders has that in him. Sheduer Sanders is known across the NCAA, guys, as one of the hardest workers in football, okay? Make no mistake about that, because he has the millions, because he's Deion Sanders' son, this kid busts his ass. He's known as one of the hardest workers. Any of his teammates will tell you that, right? And bottom line, God got Sheduer, man. God got Sheduer. He went to the Cleveland Browns, and to me, it's a best case scenario sort of thing. An opportunity to turn the Cleveland Browns into a relevant situation again is huge. Is a mega opportunity for Sheduer Sanders. You really want to shut some haters up? You really want to show how legendary you are? Take the Cleveland Browns to the playoffs. Make them relevant again. Make them want to see football, right? Like, when's the last time you turned on a Sunday and you're like, let's see who the Browns are playing? Sheduer could do that. And that's a huge opportunity for Sheduer. So, all in all, I think it's a win-win situation for Sheduer. He is officially the hashtag most hated. I think instead of hashtag legendary, he should turn it into hashtag most hated now, and run with that. He needs to get some merch, some shirts, everything going. That'd be crazy. But, I think he's the most hated man in the NFL, period. And the kid ain't even, gotten a fair shot. The shit is kind of sad to me. But, again, he was the most sacked QB in college football, guys. So I don't want to hear about him not being able to produce. There was 4 to 5 Colorado wide receivers that got drafted in the draft, guys. Not just Travis Hunter. LeJohntay Wester, Jimmy Horn Jr. There was 2 or 3 others that got drafted, guys. Okay? And I said that before. The Colorado wide receivers are no scrubs. And any team that can get them is getting great teams. I believe LeJohntay Wester went to the Baltimore Ravens. Jimmy Horn Jr. went to the Carolina Panthers. Obviously, Travis Hunter went to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like, guys, that would not have happened if it wasn't for Sheduer Sanders. Period. Think of everything Travis Hunter did. LeJohntay Wester, Jimmy Horn Jr., they still had 1,000-yard receiving seasons. That's absolutely insane, bro. Like, when we look at it statistically speaking, this kid is quality, high quality. It's just the media hype. It's just the way that his confidence comes off as arrogance to a lot of these guys, man, and to a lot of people in just the world, man, at the end of the day. And, you know, I will segue all the Sheduer hate and everything and, you know, my opinions on it into this week's Fried Award of the Week. The Fried Award of the Week this week, ladies and gentlemen, goes to the New Orleans Saints and Kellen Moore. I am highly disappointed in the team. You know, coming off realistically, let's start with the kid out of Louisville. The kid out of Louisville, bro, is not good, okay? And so while the kid out of Louisville doesn't pan out while Derek Carr's hurt, Kellen Moore is going to want to wish and wish he could go back and get these next 1 to 2 years back, okay? Because that kid out of Louisville, obviously, you know, right? Like, you don't draft Sheduer, fam, in the first or even the second round when he's available, or even the third round when he's available for you, bro. They have Derek Carr, guys, who may not be ready for the season. Again, like I mentioned, there's rumors that Derek Carr is out for the entire season due to a shoulder injury that's been bugging him and lingering, okay? So, there's potential for Derek Carr to be out the entire season. Your backup quarterback is Spencer Rattler, another one of those 4th, 5th round, you know, quarterbacks that we talk about. Like, they don't pan out all the time, bottom line. So you have him, you have Derek Carr, okay, that may not be ready for the season. Spencer Rattler is the backup. Again, come on now. And now you have a guy from Louisville who I want to point out during his tenure in college, which was 6 years, okay, he had 3 season-ending injuries, all right, in his career. That's not a good quarterback room. And that's not a good spot to be. And in my opinion, Sheduer Sanders would have helped them so much. And that was the best option. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say that the Saints should have took Sheduer Sanders at 9. But the 3rd round and he's still on the board and you're passing up on him? What are we doing? And that's where it comes in again. The messaging behind this that was sent from so many front offices was like, we ain't even trying to deal with it, bro. We don't care if we got to sacrifice a year or two. The Saints are damn near sacrificing a year or two, especially if Derek Carr cannot play. Like, they're just trying to get in the sweepstakes for Arch Manning next year, apparently. And that's just crazy. New Orleans, y'all are fried, my guys. Fried, period, bro. Like, Travis Hunter, guys, doesn't win the Heisman if it is not for Sheduer Sanders. Why isn't anyone mentioning that or saying that? This unicorn, Travis Hunter, he's not winning the Heisman without Sheduer Sanders. I don't understand what people aren't getting about that. And that is the reality, and that is the bottom line. I don't care any way you want to spin it, any way you want to get up in it. Travis Hunter wouldn't have won the Heisman had it not been for Sheduer Sanders, man. That is the bottom line. And that is a great segue into Travis Hunter. You see my segues lately. Chef's kiss, man. Been killing it. Travis Hunter, man, he gets drafted at number 2 overall by the Jaguars. On episode 33 previously, we chatted about them having the offensive pieces and actually potentially moving back in the draft. I thought the Jaguars were a team that was poised to trade with a team like the Saints, potentially looking to move up to draft a quarterback, something like that. I thought the Jags sitting pretty at number 5 was, you know, a spot for them to be able to move back with the offensive pieces that they already had. Obviously, you know, offensive linemen are going to be there. They're going to be on the board typically, I will say, even though this was an unprecedented year, probably more offensive linemen drafted than ever before in the first round, realistically. But, right, like, these guys, they had the opportunity to move back. Instead, they move up and make a huge splash, go from number 5 to number 2, trade with the Cleveland Browns, and they take Travis Hunter, man. I did not see it coming, to be honest. And, you know, in my opinion, to have a Rookie of the Year candidate last year and Brian Thomas Jr., y'all know me. I was screaming from the goddamn mountaintops, this kid should be in the Rookie of the Year conversation. His stats were ridiculous league-wide, not just among the rookies, okay? We've said that before, right? You have Brian Thomas Jr. at wide receiver. Then you trade up and you're pairing him with Travis Hunter. If Travis Hunter plays wide receiver full-time. He may not. He may play cornerback. We're going to see. I'm sure it's going to be explored. I'm sure it's going to be a conversation that's already been talked about with them about kind of where they see him and where they're fitting him in, right? But at the end of the day, man, this says what I initially said about Trevor Lawrence. when I mentioned the new head coach hire, we talked about, Liam Cohen going down there. We talked about the new general manager. I mentioned this probably 4 or 5 pods ago when the season first ended, when Liam Cohen did the Buccaneers dirty and left them without a trace, without a call, and went down and signed with the Jaguars. At the end of the day, Trevor Lawrence has 1 season, guys. Trevor Lawrence, you got 1 year to prove it, buddy. You got 1 year to prove it. If Trevor Lawrence does not have a good season, if Trevor Lawrence comes out and gets hurt for an extended period of time, for the 5th season in a row, might I add. Trevor Lawrence been hurt 4 seasons straight. Missed multiple games 4 seasons straight. Okay? Trevor Lawrence has 1 year. We're giving you Brian Thomas Jr. You got Travis Etienne in the backfield. You got a pretty good offensive line that you can run behind, that you're protected by. And now you got Travis Hunter. You got 1 year to prove it, buddy. If you don't prove it in that 1 year, Trevor Lawrence, you're out of here, my guy. You got 2 generational young wide receivers. And, again, Trevor Lawrence, you got this year to come out here and perform at a high level, especially with the new offensive coordinator that is supposed to be one of the best offensive minds in the league, that did major things with Tampa Bay. They said he's a lot of the reason for the success Tampa Bay had been having with Baker Mayfield. Trevor Lawrence, you got 1 year or you're out of there, my guy. Bottom line, okay? They got too many pieces around him that he can win with. Too much talent around him that he can win with, man. And, again, it's going to be very interesting. But shout out to Travis Hunter, man. Colorado boys putting the Buffs on the map, going number 2 in the draft. That was sick. Super happy for him, man. Super excited to see how he translates into the NFL. I think he's another guy that there's potential he may struggle in the NFL, guys. I know he's a, unicorn within the NCAA, but again, we're going in now playing against grown-ass men who have been doing this. They know everything that you're going to throw at them. They know all this stuff, so we'll see how he translates as well. I think he's going to translate very well, but at the end of the day, there's always that off chance that it doesn't, right? So that's Travis Hunter, man. The Raiders went with Ashton Jeanty, of course. They got their guy, man. I love this. I love the pickup of Ashton Jeanty. I've said it before. We've been saying it. I'll say it again. If he translates to the NFL in the way that every NFL scout thinks he's going to, every analyst thinks he's going to, it is going to be huge for his career to start out hot, bottom line. And 2, it's going to open up the offense for Pete Carroll and Geno Smith, period. The play actions, things of that nature, right? I will say he is in the toughest division at the end of the day. He is in the toughest division to play in, man. You got to play the Broncos defense, which is stellar, the Chargers defense, which is stellar, and the Chiefs defense, which is stellar. That's 6 of your 16 games per season, man. So he does have a lot of steep competition just within his own division, right? But who's the last running back that Pete Carroll drafted, guys? Marshawn Lynch. Beast mode, okay? So we could get Beast Mode 2.0. If at the end of the day Pete Carroll sees something in this kid, Pete Carroll know how to pick him. Pete Carroll ain't no scrub of a head coach, right? He had the Legion of Boom up there in Seattle going crazy for years, right? Won a Super Bowl up there. So, Pete Carroll has an eye and a knack for this thing, man. And, I think it was just an amazing pickup for the Raiders, realistically. And then they quietly snagged one of the best wide receivers in the draft, in my opinion, guys. Jack Beck was a 1,000-yard receiver last season, coming from the Big 12, which is a tough task, guys. The kid is nice, yo. He is not no scrub in any way, shape, or form. And I do want to give an honorable mention to Jack Beck. His brother was actually one of the people that was killed in the New Orleans terrorist attack on New Year's Day this previous year, man. So honorable mention to Jack, man. Shout out to him. And rest in peace and blessings to his brother, man. And blessings to Jack Beck, man. Welcome to Raider Nation, baby. And we hope you do great things, man. We hope you do great things. And shout out to Pete Carroll and company, man, for paying attention to the Big 12. Something that I peeped, man, was a lot of the things, they didn't let these bigger conferences overshadow the draft picks, man. Out of the 5 picks that they did in the first 3 to 4 rounds, 3 of them came from the Big 12. And I was hoping that it would be 4 and they would draft Sheduer, but at the end of the day, it didn't happen. It didn't happen at the end of the day. And then they took someone from the FCS, a really no-name school, bro. So the front office clearly, guys, for this draft for the Raiders, they clearly did their scouting, man, and I'm believing in it. I am believing in what they got going and the draft moves that they made. I definitely will say that they're a part of the toughest division in football realistically. And I do think, and I've said this to my circles, I think we had a lackluster usage of the $112 million in cap space that we had. And that's just the reality for me personally. I think there was no big, splashes. I would have even liked them to grab Tyler Lockett from Seattle. Tyler Lockett, guys, he signed with the Tennessee Titans for 1 year, $4 million. I get it. He's 32 years old, but I think he could have provided value in the slot position. And you add that with the familiarity with Geno and with Pete Carroll already playing with them in Seattle. I would have loved to see them add some wide receiver depth and route running, because Tyler Lockett is known as one of the best route runners in the NFL. I would have liked to see them add a little bit more in offseason and use that $112 million a little bit better, in my opinion. But sometimes, it ain't about, being the biggest and making the biggest splashes within your free agency. You don't need to go sign the biggest names and things like that. We did make a lot of moves at the cornerback position. We did sign a linebacker, which was needed because we let Robert Spillane walk out the door and he wanted a bag versus actually building something with us. Robert, whatever. But I feel like it was a bit lackluster, okay? But shout out to Tyler Lockett, definitely going to the Tennessee Titans. But I think the Raiders, at the end of the day, I think, Tyler Lockett going to the Tennessee Titans just gives Cam Ward just another target outside of Calvin Ridley. That's, going to be a quality target that's going to catch footballs from you if you get it to them on the spot, on the time, right? And I just wish the Raiders would have made a little bit more of a splash in free agency at the wide receiver position specifically. Again, I like Jack Beck. We also drafted a kid out of Tennessee that is huge. He's gigantic. He's like 6'5", like 250, 260. The kid is like a mini DK Metcalf. That's how I expressed it to my brother-in-law. Like, he's like literally a mini DK Metcalf, and his stats in the SEC were quality, bro. The SEC is one of the toughest divisions in football, realistically. So, I just wish the Raiders would have used their funds a little bit better. And I do want to briefly say, speaking of the Titans, and speaking of Cam Ward, I don't want to say he's going to be a bust, guys, but I don't think he's going to be a year one bust, definitely. But I think in 4 years, everyone is going to be asking, like, why the Tennessee Titans took him at number one and why he was the overall number one pick and the consensus number one pick. Mark my words on that. And especially if Sheduer Sanders comes up and makes Cleveland Browns relevant. I am telling you right now, like, I don't want to hear any excuses down the line, especially. Oh, he's with the Titans. Nah, my guy. In 3 to 4 years, when he hasn't done nothing, when he's produced nothing, I don't want to hear it. I just don't think Cam Ward is that good. I truthfully don't. I genuinely don't think Cam Ward is that good. I could be wrong, but I'm telling y'all, Cam Ward is not who he thinks he is. He's not who they think he is. Mark my words on it, bro, when he comes out, man. And before we get off the NFL, guys, before we get off the Not For Long League, I just want to say they did announce something cool that we should all be on the lookout for. They announced rivalry jerseys that will be coming out this season and being worn this season, which I just think is pretty cool. So, apparently what the rivalry jerseys are supposed to be about is it's supposed to be inspired by local communities of each team and the impacts that they have. I think what it's going to be is similar to the City Connect jerseys in the MLB. If you guys notice, the MLB does City Connect jerseys. The Rockies ones are kind of sick, low-key, with the colors. Even though a lot of people were hating on them because it has nothing to do with the team, the colors, anything. But last year's really didn't, right? But these rivalry jerseys, guys, I think are going to be super dope. So I'm excited to see the release of them, see what they come up with. This is obviously a first for the NFL. They don't do too many of the alternates and things like that. They do like to keep it very, classy. The only things that they've done is the Color Rush uniforms, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I was very hyped, man. And I'm just hoping the Raiders specifically don't go outside and just do an all white or some BS. Like, let's really add some New Orleans flavor, some pop in some way, shape, or form, man. It's the city. It's Las Vegas, man. It's the bright lights. It's the colorful stuff. I really would like to see the Raiders. I know they're one of the most historic franchises in the NFL, but with these rivalry jerseys, the city, local community jerseys, that's supposed to bring it in, guys. And so I would love for them to go all in on this as the Raiders, and I'm just excited about that. So I wanted to leave y'all with that. Hopefully they release the renderings of what these jerseys are going to look like well before the season, so we can, go ahead and get these jerseys. But that's all I got for the Not For Long League, man. I'm going to leave y'all off with a couple tidbits like I always do, man. If y'all didn't see Virginia Guffrey, guys, this was basically the only person to come out publicly against Jeffrey Epstein and expose him. This was the one that was actually related and in the picture with Prince Williams, said she was assaulted by Prince Williams. That girl who did interviews, the documentaries, everything, she has died by suicide. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Okay. At this point, these elites are just getting sloppy, man. Really, with these assassinations. These elites are just getting sloppy, for real, for real. Like to the point where their moves are just beyond obvious. It's almost boring at this point. Like, not only did she die by suicide, guys, but, there's crazy reports coming out. One report and one thing she did put out was a tweet back a couple years back, specifically stating, "I am not in any way suicidal. I have never been suicidal. I will never be suicidal." And I can't see that potentially being AI, etc. You never know, but it looked pretty realistic. There was an @VRS, like her on the Twitter handle was @VRS Virginia. That Twitter handle has now been wiped off of X, or Twitter handle, X handle, whatever you want to call it, has now been wiped, bro. So either it was wiped or it's AI and it didn't really happen. The internet sleuths will be the ones to figure that out. But man, it is an evil, evil world that we live in, guys. And again, these elites are kind of getting a little bit sloppy. Like, y'all should have waited another 5-10 years or some shit, man, before you just wiped her off the map like that, man. But it's an evil world, man. But let's get into the investment wrap of the week. I ain't got too much for y'all this week. I do want to point out, if you invested $1,000 in Netflix last week when we brought up Netflix, you are up 9% on your money, man. You are up 9% on your money, which is unprecedented growth in a week. Again, guys, I be peeping this stuff. I be looking at this stuff, man. So please, when I'm talking about the investment wrap of the week, listen up, bro. Listen up. I be trying to tell y'all, man. Get these levels, set it, forget about it. You feel me? Y'all know the drill, bro. Y'all know the drill. And I do want to say I will be publishing new levels on my TradingView. I've mentioned to you guys TradingView. It's a free platform to look at stocks, look at charts. Even if you're not into it, it's basic enough for you to be able to see things a little bit more in depth than a Robinhood, things of that nature. So TradingView, guys, my name on there is Low Time, LOUGH Time 303. Free accounts for you guys. I will be posting and publishing the new levels that I'm looking for, because the market has had a bounce. Things have kind of changed from 3-4 weeks ago when I was last looking at them and last publishing the levels. So a lot of the things did go down to the level I said they would. If you caught the dips, if you bought, again, you're up, guys. My portfolio's looking great the last couple weeks. I don't know about y'all. I don't know for my guys that are following along with me on the investing, man. But this is the last week of April, guys. The Fed does have a meeting in regard to interest rates on May 6th and 7th, the first week of May. So this is the last week of April. They have a meeting the first week of May. Inflation is still high, so I don't expect interest rates to be dropped or anything like that. But with the month closing out, guys, expect some trade deals to potentially be finalized and announced immediately for sure. I'm sure Trump is trying to push for that because he's trying to put pressure on the Fed to drop the interest rates. The tariff talk is potentially going to happen again, of course. Easing of tariffs, certain things like that. That goes along with the trade deals, of course. And just expect Trump to probably, guys, open his mouth this week and say some potentially crazy stuff. Realistically, he is trying to purposefully put pressure on the Fed to drop the interest rates. That's what they want from the presidential standpoint. From the White House standpoint, is they want the interest rates dropped under 4%. They feel like that's going to flood the refi markets. That's going to assist the economy in its rebrand, regrowth, and its redevelopment into the biggest economy in the world, Okay, so just expect some crazy stuff to go on this week. Obviously, y'all know I got you. I'll be bringing you the news this week. There wasn't too much news, but keep an eye again on Netflix for a stock split. As I mentioned last week, they're going to go over $1,000. They are now sitting at $1,100, bro. They went from like $987 to $1,100. This stock is extremely overpriced, guys, in my opinion. Like I like Netflix. I like the company. I like the fundamentals that they have. Realistically, if you want to hear about the fundamentals, go to the last investment wrap of the week. We really got into Netflix and what they're doing and some big key high points for them: viewership, paid subscribers, etc. I'm not going to get into it again, right? Go back and listen to it. But at the end of the day, man, you got to look at these companies that are a little bit overvalued. They're probably going to do a stock split within the next 12 to 24 months, especially if the stock keeps going crazy like it's going, man. And that's just the bottom line. That is just the bottom line with Netflix. Also, keep an eye on Tesla, guys. Tesla is on a 40% discount from where it was a month and a half, 2 months ago. A 40% discount on the best electric vehicle company in the world. Guys, they have over 50% market share, if not even more than that. Okay, Tesla is not going anywhere. I don't care anyone that wants to bomb Teslas and dealerships and protest Elon and yada yada yada. Tesla's not going anywhere. Tesla is going to be an intricate part of the economy, intricate part of these autonomous vehicles, intricate part of the future of the entire world, not just the United States. They are, whether you like it or not. So if you don't have Tesla in your portfolio, right now, you can get a 40% discount on Tesla in your portfolio, man. So that's the investment wrap of the week. That's all I got for y'all. I appreciate y'all tuning in. As always, of course, we out.